Spirit Airlines. What happened to Spirit Airlines? They got 120 Airbus A320s. They got 17,000 employees. So when an airline like this goes under, what happens to those people? First, the pilots, they'll get a new job, but everything with a pilot is about seniority. Let's don't talk about Spirit. Let's talk about Federal Express. 6,000 pilots. This pilot is number one on the seniority list. This pilot is number 6,000. Pilot number 6,000 flies 20 days a month. Pilot number one flies 4 days a month. Pilot number one makes 3 times the money as pilot number 6,000. Now, they lose 50 pilots a month. Retirement, can't pass the medical. So this is constantly going like this, and new people are coming in. So you're moving up. You're going to move up according to the industry needs. There's a lot of companies that need pilots. But let's say the number one pilot at Spirit, I don't know, I think maybe they had 500 pilots. If he leaves, he's the number one pilot. He gets the best schedule, the best pay. And he leaves and goes to FedEx, he's at the bottom. It doesn't matter how many hours you have, how many type ratings you have, how old you are. When you go to a new company, you got to start at the bottom of the seniority. So that's the big problem for the pilots. Will they all get a job? Yes, they will all get a job. Now, they probably got a severance package, so they got maybe 2 months to look around and find a new job. The pilots are going to be okay. They're going to get a new job. They're going to have to start at the bottom of a seniority, but that's the industry. That's the gamble that you take when you take a job anywhere. Any pilot take a job anywhere. If you get in a good company and move up, you'll have a good life. But if your companies you pick, bankruptcy, and you got to keep starting at the bottom of the seniority, it's tough. Now, all those mechanics, shortage of mechanics. They'll all get a job quick. The gate workers, nobody wants to work at an airport anymore. The gate workers, the ramp agents, the customer service people, they will all get a job somewhere else. The flight attendants, they will all get a job. They'll all start at the bottom of the seniority, but they'll all get a job. Now, the airplanes, they have 172 Airbus A320s. There's 91 active. There's 77 of them already in the desert. The reason they're in the desert is because they got engine problems. The FAA grounded them because of the engine problems. That's one of their problems, is why they went bankrupt. Those planes will be fixed and they will be sold. We are short, I think, 4,800 airplanes. There's 4,800 airliners needed right now. All of those planes will be sold. All of those planes will be back in service. So what happens to the planes? Well, they filed bankruptcy, and Spirit landed their last plane at 3 a.m. in the morning. That way, when the sun come up, everything is done. A lot of the customers, they're not going to get their money back. Some of them will, but it's just a big mess. This is why this happens. The top 10 people of the company, they don't care if it goes bankruptcy. Spirit has already had 2 bankruptcies. They already had a $500 million bailout from the government. That money just gets wasted. The people that lose are the people at the bottom. The executives, they walk away with their $10 million bonuses, and they walk away. They ran the company into the ground. They walk away with their money and go retire somewhere and never work again. This is every day in corporate America. These executives go in there, get big salaries, big bonuses. They run the company into the ground. They don't care. They just go retire in Colorado, Florida, or California, or Canada, or the Philippines. So that's what happens. Now, the planes will be sold. Somebody will get those planes. The pilots will get new jobs. All of those workers will get new jobs. It's not as bad as what you sound. Oh, it's a bankruptcy. Well, here's the reason they went bankrupt. The price of fuel. Everybody wants to fly for $79. Everybody wants a direct flight. Everybody wants to fly first class. I hate to fly. I'm a pilot and I hate to fly with the airlines. People are drunk, half naked, dirty, filthy, smell bad. They get on the plane and fight. They're fighting in the airport. I remember when I was young, if you flew on a plane, you dressed in your Sunday clothes. Everybody was well behaved. It was nice. Now, it's a Greyhound bus route. The airports are a Greyhound bus route. You go to Charlotte, like I've said before, there's too many planes, too many people. They're trying to do too much. You fly into Charlotte, you have to hold. Then you land, and you got to taxi 30 minutes because there's so many runways. It's such mass confusion. Then you get to the gate, and you can't park because there's not a marshaller. You have to have a guy on each wing with a light marshaling you in. The pilot cannot pull into the gate unless he has that, or he'll be fired. So the major airports, they're trying to do too many flights, too many flights. I mean, look at all the mishaps with the controllers. Not enough controllers, trying to do too many flights. It's just a big mess. So all of those workers will get new jobs. Spirit has $1.3 billion in assets. $1.3 billion. They got $167 million in parts alone. They got $86 million in slots. When an airliner flies from Dallas to Newark, they just don't land and pull up to the gate. They have to buy that slot, that time. They got to buy all that. So they've got $86 million in slots that other airlines are going to buy, and they'll be used. So all of this gets soaked up real quick. The losers are the workers. The winners are the executives. They ran the company into the ground. They took their money, and now, they're gonna go retire somewhere. So all of this will be absorbed into the system. Everybody will be fine. It's the price of fuel is what did them in. The price of fuel doubled, mostly because of the Iran war, and Spirit didn't raise their prices because they're the cheap airline, and they just ran themselves into the ground. So all of these workers, parts, gates, it'll all be absorbed quickly. Now, those airplanes, most of those airplanes are leased from leasing companies. Spirit doesn't even own them. 76% of those airplanes are leased. Now, there's a in the contract, when you lease an airplane, the leasing company gets their plane before all the rest of the bankruptcy gets solved. So right now, there are mechanics, engineers, ferry pilots all over everywhere getting those planes. The leasing company, I dropped my notes. The leasing company is going to get those planes first. They're already sending their ferry pilots to document those planes, put it on the door. This plane has been repossessed, and nobody can touch that plane then. The ferry pilots will get those planes and get them away from the Spirit facilities because they get first choice of those planes. They're going to get those planes out of there. Now, when that plane gets repossessed, it's going to be rented somewhere else or sold somewhere else. They're going to make their money. Spirit's going to lose all that money. So they're going to get their money first. Now, when a plane gets repossessed, what happens to it? That plane will be, Frontier wants it. American Airlines wants it. A lot of these third world countries, they want those planes. Spirit had a young fleet of A320s. Most of those planes can fly 20, 30 years, and even into 40 years. When an airliner gets old in America, it gets sold to a third world country, and they just keep flying it. I mean, that's why you never want to fly in a third world country because you get old, worn out airplanes. So all of those airplanes will be sold. Now, when they get sold, you got to repaint them. It takes 2 or 3 weeks to paint a plane. It's $200,000. And when you repaint the plane, you got to strip it, paint it. You got to weigh it before and weigh it after you paint it. Then you have to document in the logbook the new weight and balance because the plane is going to weigh a little different with new paint. So those planes will be repainted. Some of them will go to the desert The older ones will go to the desert and they'll be used for parts. Now, when they go to the desert, they get the fuel taken out of them. They get the tires specially wrapped. They get the windshields covered. They get reflective paint sprayed on them because it's so hot. Why do they go to the desert? Less corrosion, less animals get into the engine inlets and wheel wells and stuff. That's why they put them in the desert. Some of them will be chopped up and sold for parts. Some of them will be sold and used again. So those planes are not going to be just gone for good. They're still making money. The mechanics in the desert are making money. The leasing company's going to release them to somebody else. Those planes, a lot of those planes in their lifetime will be with 5 different airlines. So, because this happens all the time. Those planes will be reused. So some of those planes, A320, there's a company, I think it's in Germany, where they convert them. There's a conversion for the A320. It's cargo planes. So some of them will be converted. So that's what's going to happen to Spirit. It's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. The planes will be reused. The workers will find new jobs. Everybody will get their money. And life will go on. I'm sorry, I flew Spirit one time. I went out there to fly, went to the gate, canceled the flight. Everybody just left, scrambled. There's no customer service. They had terrible customer service. They had terrible seats. The plane I flew, the seat wouldn't even adjust. It was a little thin seat, real tight. That's why it was a budget airline, and it's probably why it went broke. I didn't like flying 4 hours on a little small tight seat with the seat in front of you. It was just an uncomfortable airlines. People that didn't know any better, that fly once or twice, that's a great experience. But if you fly all the time and you get in those cheap seats, no food, no Wi-Fi, a lot of drunk passengers, people with BO, people throwing up, people drunk, people fighting with the flight attendant, you get sick of that. I mean, I'm in the Philippines right now. I want to go back to America just to visit, but I don't want to do the plane flight. I don't want to do the plane flight. It's 15 hours. I got to fly 1 hour from Dumaguete to Manila. Then Manila, it's 15 hours to LA. Now, the Philippine airline flight is a wonderful experience. It's when I get to America, then I got to get from LA to Memphis. Plane late, plane broke, nasty plane, bad passengers. That's the part I don't want to do. So, Spirit Airlines, bye-bye. Bye-bye to Spirit. The pilots and the workers and the mechanics, they'll all get a new job, probably a better job. They'll get a new job quick. You know, the pilots, they got to go somewhere else. Instead of making $195,000 a year, they're going to get a pay cut. They're going to make $145,000 a year. Now, if you budget your money fine and you don't have a house in Florida, 2 Corvettes, a kid at Harvard, you're going to be okay. But most of these pilots, they take that money and they are so overextended. That's the way pilots are. But if they budget their money wisely, they'll go somewhere else and get a new job. They'll be fine. So that's what happened to Spirit Airlines. Number one, bad management. The people at the top took their money. They got big bonuses, big salaries. They don't care if they go bankrupt. They're going to be fine. They took their money and ran, and the price of fuel did them in. You know, instead of raising the price a little bit and keep everything going, they didn't do that. I mean, everybody else is flying fine. They just raised the price a little bit. People that fly are going to pay to fly. If you raise the price of the ticket $20, they're still going to go fly. So bad management. That's what did Spirit in. You know, President Trump could have bailed them out again, but he's not going to keep bailing out these bad managers that are just taking the money and just robbing everybody, you know. So Spirit Airline is gone, but it will be absorbed into the big picture, and a lot of times more money will be made because the leasing agencies, and they're going to redo those planes, and it's just good. They're just going to make more money. The economy will keep going and really be better to get Spirit out of the way, because when you got those cheap airlines, it brings everybody else down. It brings the other airlines down. Now that you got rid of them, it's going to help. So bye-bye Spirit. That's what happened to Spirit. Management. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Bad leadership, bad management. Bye-bye Spirit.